All right, guys, flitter time. Mentioned the other day, last video we done, we're going to be doing some flitters. Flitters are basically just fried cornbread. And some out there may be thinking, well, why would you go through the trouble of frying it instead of baking it? Well, believe it or not, and some of you may know, frying cornbread versus baking cornbread tastes totally different. This is something I grew up with eating. My mom used to fry, we call them flitters. Some people call them hoecakes. I've had people to ask me before, well, how do you make your hoecakes? And I have to stop a minute just to think of what they're talking about, because I always call them flitters. So I had to stop and think a minute. When they say hoecakes, I had to stop. So some of you may call them hoecakes. Some of you may, by some chance, call them flitters. I've always called them flitters, so that's what we're going to be making today. And one other thing here, we're going to be using this iron skillet here. Not a real big one. I think this is about a 12 inch skillet. I've had this skillet probably 30 some odd years. And I told you in one of my other videos how a lot of times skillets will tell a story. Well, there's a little story behind this skillet for me personally, and my wife. My sister, she passed away several years ago, but she would give us this skillet. And you can see the inside of this skillet is just as smooth, and I hope you can see that good. It's smooth. You can fry eggs in it. Don't have to worry about them sticking. That's how smooth it is. But if you look on the outside, you'll see a lot of build up on the outside, on the bottom of it. Normally, a skillet like that, I would take and strip that down. But for me, that kind of holds some sentimental value. It already had some build up on it when it was given to us. So for that reason, I've just never been able to bring myself to strip it down, because to me that holds sentimental value, because it was given to me by my sister that way, partially that way. I've just let it go and not really done a whole lot to it over the years, but it just holds something dear to my heart. So cast iron, like I said, it tells a story, and that's what we're going to be using today to make our flitters, or hoecakes, whatever you want to call them. Fried cornbread, you make up your mind what you want to call them. But again, cast iron, you know, you can tell a story with it. And if you just getting started with cast iron, you ain't never used cast iron, that is something you can pass down through generations. I've showed you a couple of my skillets that are real old, up over 134 years old. Just think of how many hands that's passed down, and that's something that you can hand down to your kids or your grandkids, and maybe they can tell a story sometime to someone where their skillet came from, how they came, you know, to obtain that skillet. So we're going to use this skillet for frying our flitters. Folks, you can cook pretty much anything once you get your skillet seasoned good, and like I say, it'll last you a lifetime. You're not running down here to the stores trying to find the best, you know, cookware set that they have, because cast iron will last right on and on as long as it's took care of. Hey, like my little apron, this got a little different apron on. Got a lot of names on this apron. I've had this apron here for several years. Church we used to attend. Used to do a lot of cooking. We do some hog cooking and different things like that. So the church had decided they put everyone's name on it at one time, and they give this to me. So I've had this for several years. Just keep it kind of hanging up. I don't really use it a whole lot. Every once in a while, I just get it out just for the, I guess, the nostalgia of it, because I've had it so long, and all the people's names that's on it, and some people I'm still friends with on there, still know the people, but some people you get close to when you attend church or any other thing with them. So we're kind of wearing that today. Just thought I'd give you a little kind of what all these names are and stuff like that. So we're going to get started here in just a minute, get our batter ready, and we'll get to frying up some flitters. All right, guys, we're getting ready here. We're going to put our ingredients together. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to add a cup of cornmeal, and it depends on how much you want to make, but for this recipe here, we're going to use a cup of cornmeal and a cup of flour. And I know I've not mentioned it in my other videos, and some of you may do the same thing automatically. when I'm making cornbread, I always use self-rising flour. Don't use the all-purpose for that. And I always take and I mix, just like always, I take in my flour when I'm making cornbread, or flitters, hoe cakes, all that. I mix the dry ingredients up a little bit, kind of just get that mixed up, incorporated a little bit. Then what you want to do after that, you want to take and add, still use buttermilk, about 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. For this recipe here, use about 3/4 cup of buttermilk. Just get that in there. Same thing with cornbread. You're basically making cornbread, just frying it. So however you mix your cornbread, just you can go with that. Go ahead and add a couple eggs to that. Like I say, we kind of want crunchy flitters, but we don't want eggshells in there to make them crunchy. So we don't need to give it no help. So I'm not a professional egg slicer or cutter, buster, breaker, whatever you want to call it. So kind of do that a little bit and get that mixed up just a little. Then what you want to do after that is take whatever oil you use, and if I can get this little bad boy flip up here, guys, I don't measure, I just kind of look. About a 1/4 cup of oil in with your mixture, somewhere along in there, about a 1/4 cup, something like that. Oil in your mix and all that, and kind of mix this up a little bit, and then we're going to add a little bit more wet here in just a second. We'll get this started mixed up, and like I say, guys, just take and mix it up. And then what you want to do with this right here, you can use a little more, you can kind of see that, just a little bit. It's real kind of stiff, but not real stiff. For this recipe here, you can add a little water. You can add more buttermilk if you want to, but you can add a little bit of water to it. Doesn't affect the taste to it and everything. It's going to taste the same. Just get that all mixed up. Kind of get it stirred around there, mix it up. And normally if I'm making cornbread, I preheat my stove. Making flitters, I don't really preheat it or anything like that. I just get it ready when I get my batter. It don't take but a second for cast iron to heat up. So once you get that all mixed up, got your ingredients in there, just get your skillet ready, get you some oil in there, and we'll start frying. All right, guys, we got our batter going. I actually done tried a couple here, make sure I have my oil set right. But what you want to do is put your stove on a low to medium heat. You can kind of adjust it as you go. If you start seeing a little bit of smoke coming from it, turn it down a little bit. But all you do, guys, I just take just a normal spoon, just to get a normal kitchen spoon. Just get that thing kind of full, and we're going to take and dump some of this in here, and we're going to fry some flitters. Hoe cakes, fried cornbread, whatever you want to call it. I always call them flitters. Can't get used to the hoe cake, but I can deal with the frying the cornbread. I just can't remember a hoe cake. People ask me about it, and I'll say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, and then it'll dawn on me that they're talking about a flitter. But like I said, I grew up making flitters. You just get them in your skillet, and I'm just doing one at a time. You can do, according to how big you make them, you can do 2 or 3 at a time. Starts getting brown around the edges and bubbling up there, just like you're making a pancake. No difference, but you're just doing it in cast iron. Adds a little flavor to it, makes it a little more brown, more crispy, things like that. But you can do it however you want to. One thing I didn't add when I was mixing my ingredients together a while ago, I never do it, but if you want to add a couple teaspoons of sugar, it's going to make it a little bit more sweeter. It's not going to hurt anything. Once that thing starts bubbling good, you just take it and just like you're making, if I can get it flipped over here, splatter grease everywhere. Just flip it around. Let them fry up. Guys, me doing stuff like this, it's fun. It takes me back, helps me remember when I was growing up. My mom used to make these. Guys, you can eat flitters with just about anything you eat cornbread with. And as you can see, I've already sampled a little bit here, but I had to let it cool off. It was a little bit hot. Kind of like my soup deal. I kind of burnt the hair off my tongue. This kind of look there, you can see how it's fried up real good and moist, and it's not dried out. Very good. They're crunchy. I tell you, if you try it, you'll like it. A lot of times I'll do this instead of making cornbread, even when I'm making beans or things like that. Guys, there's a lot of things you can cook and do with cast iron that some people, especially beginners, think they can't make things because it's going to stick and things like that. I hope you watch, those that watch this video, I hope you share it with other people, because the next time Next video, we are going to bake a cake. I can bake cakes in cast iron. Most of the time I can't bake it nothing else, but I can bake a cake in cast iron, and that's what we're going to do the next go around. Guys, make you some of these flitters, try them out. Make your tongue beat your brains out. Remember this, God family food, God food family, your choice. Have fun cooking. Be sure, don't grab a hold of the skillet. It's a new kind of hurt.